And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today on this Sunday. Welcome back, my people. Shout out to the Real Mind Crime. I was watching a reaction of his, and he was doing a reaction to a video about Michael Jordan's Wizards years. And so this is what prompted this video. It was a clip from that I wanted to do a video about. But before we get into that, after watching this newest video about Michael Jordan's Wizards years, which I would say is the best one that I've seen so far, I don't want to hear a word from LeBron James fanboys about 40-year-old LeBron being better than 40-year-old Michael Jordan. It's not even close. Like, it's really not, especially when we bring defense into the equation. But it's not even close on offense. 40-year-old Michael Jordan, before he got injured, before he tore his meniscus, would have totally destroyed LeBron James. There's no question about it, for sure. Anyway, one of the things that I miss most about being a sports fan in the 90s, being a basketball fan in the 90s, is team loyalty. You know, back then, and obviously before then, when you're talking about the 60s, 70s, 80s, but back then, like I said, the 90s to me, you could argue was just the height of all sports. And you were loyal to a team. Now, I come from a place where we didn't have a team in the city. So, it's like I've said many times on videos, like I started off a Detroit Pistons fan, and at a certain point, it was actually after the 91 finals when Jordan's took the torch from Magic Johnson, and when Jordan showed the world that, hey, these things that you've been saying about me about not being able to win because I'm too selfish, and not being able to win because I'm a score first player, because I can't lead the league in scoring and win, all these things you've been saying about me aren't true. And at that point, Michael Jordan won me over, and I was a Chicago fan ever since then. But before then, I was a Detroit fan. Now, for me, living in a city where we didn't have a sports team, you know, I basically had to pick a team, and for the most part, I stuck with that team. Once I became a Chicago fan, I was a Chicago fan until the end. And or at least until I became disinterested with the NBA because the game started to be trash. But this is what I miss about the 90s, especially for people who lived in cities where you guys actually did have a professional team. People who lived in cities with a professional team, like those people were loyal to the team. And the reason for this is because the players were loyal to the team, and the players were loyal to the fans.
Michael had an obligation to himself, the fans, his teammates, the organization, his family, everybody. He said, if you're gonna sit down and take 3 hours out of your day to watch me on TV, I have an obligation to give you my best. To give you my best all the time.
And this is what I miss, is the players having some loyalty to the fans and to the teams that they played for. Again, Michael Jordan, if you look throughout the history of Michael Jordan, it was very rare that Michael Jordan was okay with one of his teammates being traded or his coaches being fired. Michael Jordan always had the mentality of whoever is here now, we're just going to work and keep getting better and we'll make it happen. And the fact that Michael Jordan, played 82 games 9 times, and the fact that, he played through injuries and all of these different things. And obviously Michael Jordan, because he was the 90s, because he is responsible for growing the game in a way that it was able to grow. We talk about Michael Jordan most. But this was common for players in the 90s and before the 90s. But like I said, to me, the 90s are the height of sports culture in general. But you talk about Larry Bird, who played years with a back injury that got progressively worse. And, for those of you who don't know, he actually injured his back in '85, helping his grandmother gravel a driveway. So, doing manual labor, even though he was an NBA star. But yeah, players like Larry Bird who continued to play through a back injury that got progressively worse. You got John Stockton, who I think played 16 seasons, playing 82 games. And so you just had players who felt the obligation to the team and to the fans to perform and not let them down. They didn't want to let the team or the fans down. And I genuinely miss that in today's age where fans are generally fans of players. And, to some point they have to be, because these players are jumping around so much. But the fans are fans of players, not teams, really. And then the other thing, obviously, is that the players could care less, I would argue, about the team and the fans. The players could care less about the teams and the fans. The players are simply chasing money, rings, and they could care less about the fans. They load manage. They could care less about showing up to the job 82 games out of the year, And so, like I said, I was watching this Wizards documentary, or watching the Real Mind Crime do a reaction to this Wizards documentary. And there's a clip on there that I'm going to play here where Michael Jordan, as a Wizard, he goes back to Chicago. Now, before this game they played in Chicago, and they actually won the game in Chicago too. But before they played this game, I believe they had won like their last 5 out of 6 games. And Michael Jordan was playing great. I think at this point, if like the last, maybe 10 games or something, he was averaging 26, 27 points or something. Don't quote me on that. But Michael Jordan was cooking at this point. And the team was playing great defense. But then they played in Chicago. Now, again, they did win the game. The Wizards beat Chicago. But Michael Jordan had a bad game, shooting-wise. Now, he still did all the things defensively. I think he had a bunch of rebounds or whatnot. But shooting-wise, he shot terribly. And they were interviewing him at the end of the game. And he proceeds to, basically say he kind of felt guilty coming back in another uniform playing in Chicago. He felt guilty being there in another uniform. So this is the clip that we're going to play, and we will be right back.
7, the Bulls 69 in a moment. We'll be chatting with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. This was a very ugly basketball game. But the most important thing when you're playing a game like this is to make sure that you're winning.
It is. I mean, it wasn't a pretty game. I think both teams were pretty much hyped, wanted to play well. A lot's been made about the game. Me personally, I didn't play particularly well, but we won the game. We could somehow find a way to win the game, and that means most. Come back and win the game. But it's tough playing here. I almost feel guilty playing against with the fans and, the appreciation that they paid to me early in the game, it's tough playing in front of them.
Do you think you will ever be separated from the Chicago Bulls? I mean, you became MJ, great basketball player as a Chicago Bull. Now you're at the Washington Wizards. Will you ever be separated from this team?
No, I don't think I'm going to ever be separated. I mean, I have too many memories to try to forget, when I leave here. I think we're always going to be connected somehow, some way. Even though I'm working for another franchise, somehow I'm always going to be connected with the Bulls.
So you heard the clip, or you saw the clip. Michael Jordan said, the fans showed him such appreciation at the beginning of the game that he felt guilty playing there. And to me, again, this is just a demonstration of not only how the fans felt about Michael Jordan, but how Michael Jordan felt about the fans. Like, he felt it deeply enough to feel guilty. And, maybe that's the reason he shot poorly. Maybe it's not. But he clearly was affected by being back in the Chicago building. Now, something else he said, I will forever be attached to the Chicago Bulls. And I think we all know this to be true. When you think of Michael Jordan, you don't think of Wizards Jordan. You think of Chicago Bulls. And again, Michael Jordan feels that way, and I think it's safe to say that the fans feel that way as well. Whether you were a Chicago resident or not. If you were just a fan of Michael Jordan or not a fan, maybe you were a rival of Michael Jordan. Maybe you were a fan who couldn't stand Michael Jordan because he kept beating your teams. But no matter what, I believe everyone sees Michael Jordan as a Chicago Bull and will forever see Michael Jordan as a Chicago Bull, which leads me to my next point. The Duck, the Deer, the leader of the 4 and 6 Kingdom. Does he have that kind of reverence in any place at all? And I think we all know the answer to that. The answer to that is no. LeBron, not even in Cleveland. And I can say this, I've talked to many people from Cleveland, and believe me when I tell you, it is a love-hate relationship. They like LeBron James for the fact that he brought one championship to Cleveland, but they don't have that kind of reverence for him. And I have not met one person from Cleveland in person, because I do talk about this stuff. Like when I go out to bars and whatnot to have a drink and maybe check out some live music, I get into conversations with people all the time, and I have not met one. And I'm talking about men and women. I've met men and women from Cleveland, and I have not met one that puts LeBron James over Michael Jordan. Not one. Not two. Not three. Not four. Not five. Not six. Not seven. Not one. And they all talk about LeBron James, like I said, in a very bittersweet way, because I don't think they will ever forget how LeBron James left Cleveland the first time. Which goes back to what I was saying about today's player. It's all about chasing money and rings. There is no loyalty, and this is what the game is missing. This is besides the game just being a crap product now, but this is also what I miss about the 90s is that loyalty. Is like once you had loyalty for a team, like you rode with that team through the ups and downs. And you knew that star player felt the same way. When you think about Magic, you think of purple and gold. When you think about Kareem, you think purple and gold. When you think about Kobe Bryant, you think purple and gold. When you think about Larry Bird, you think about the Boston Celtics. When you think about Michael Jordan, you think about the Chicago Bulls. When you think about Stockton and Malone, you think about Utah Jazz. That kind of thing doesn't exist in today's NBA. Or maybe I should say it exists for very few players. And especially when we're talking about the superstars. When we're talking about the superstars, that kind of loyalty doesn't exist. There's very few players who you can put into that category. You know, obviously Giannis and Damian Lillard obviously spent most of his career with Portland. And obviously you got Steph Curry. But in general, like, that's another part of the game that I truly miss, is that loyalty between fans, players, and teams. Like, they all went hand in hand, and now that's not the case anymore. And again, this is another product of the duck, the deer, the leader of the 4 and 6 kingdom, and this whole player entitlement movement that has players thinking more selfishly instead of about the fans and about the future of the game, really. But anyway, we gonna hold up here, people. Let me know what you think about that clip about Michael Jordan saying he felt guilty playing in Chicago. And mind you, up until that game, Michael Jordan was shooting really well. Like, again, obviously I think I saw he had 12 rebounds and some other stuff in that game versus Chicago, but he didn't shoot well. And so yeah, what do you think about that clip? But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.